again to my studio. I'm Susan Giannantonio, and I want to tell you, last week I was playing with some prompts and a roulette wheel, and it occurred to me since last week that maybe you would enjoy joining me and trying a painting for yourself. So I'm going to actually help you paint along with me step by step today. And before I get started, I want to mention a couple of things. Now on my keyboard, if I press the space bar, it actually stops the YouTube video. It puts it on pause. So I don't have to go find my mouse or mess with the touchpad or anything like that. If I click that space bar, it pauses the video, and then I can go to my painting or go get clean water or find some materials that I need. And then when I'm ready to resume a lesson, I hit that space bar again. Now your computer might not work that way, but I suggest whatever device you're using, figure out the easiest way to put something on pause, because that's what I want you to do today. I want you to go step by step with me. I'm going to talk you through it, and I'm going to suggest a time where you could pause. I'll forget to do that once in a while, but I think when you get going, you're going to get the idea. Now, whether you paint along with me or not, I'm going to do another one of those videos where I use a prompt that gives me a really neat idea, and I'm going to take it to my non-objective piece. This is really fun to do. I feel almost like I'm in kindergarten when I'm painting like this. And I want to point out, last week I started 2 paintings this way with a roulette wheel and some prompts. Today I'm going to start another one, and this is the 3rd time I've done this with these prompts. And I think today you will see that I was able to get a little better at it. This is not an easy thing. You know, I do not subscribe to that idea of, you know, every once in a while somebody will look at a non-objective painting and say, oh, my granddaughter could do better than that. Well, you just try doing a non-objective painting and see what you come up with. So let's take the pressure off and just plan to have fun. As we do this a few more times, I just want to mention before we get started, as we do this a few more times, I promise that I will go back into these paintings that we're creating here in these sessions, and I will address how to take them just another step or 2 farther and crack them into something closer to a completed work. So you see a few paintings here that I have done with a similar process, and actually I consider these 2 outside ones done, and I sold a 3rd one this week from that series. So the interesting thing about work that is similar to this, non-objective work like this, it creates all kinds of things to look at on the canvas or on the paper if you work on paper. It's fascinating to create, and it's fascinating to look at. It doesn't hand the viewer all the answers. In fact, every time you look at it, there are new things to look at. So here's an example of what I am going to end up with today in this lesson. In fact, you can see it over my shoulder, but I'm going to drop it in here and show you a close-up of what we're going to create together, and I do hope you'll give it a try. If not, just join me and take a look and see what we're up to. Now, about the supplies you'll need. I suggest you start out with whatever you have, and if I suggest something through my prompts that you don't have, improvise. For instance, let me see here. I have looked ahead because obviously I know what you're about to need, and today, as often is the case, you're going to need 3 colors of paint. Now, I don't care what kind of paint you use, or you could mix up a variety of paints. In this case, I'm going to be working with acrylics. Maybe you want to use gouache, maybe you want to use watercolors or a mix or whatever. Just use what you have, but I like to start out with a red, a yellow, and a blue. That will give me quite a nice range of colors, and I always have some black and white handy. Okay, so that's the start. The next thing I need, some drawing implements. Now I could use charcoal, I could use watercolor pencils, Inktense pencils, pens, markers, doesn't matter. when I suggest you pick up a drawing implement, pick up whatever you can grab and have at it. So you'll see what I mean. Okay, the prompt will be asking you to make some marks with a rigger. So a rigger is a thin brush. If you don't have a rigger, use something else that's kind of a small brush that can make some small marks. Okay, squirt bottle with a bit of bright paint. Let's see, I have that here. Here's one. So I put a little fluid acrylic into a little squirt bottle. If you don't have a squirt bottle on hand, use an old toothbrush and dip it into some paint and flick it. You know, just what we're doing is making unique marks that we otherwise might not think of to make. That's what we're using these prompts for, and so that's what we're going to do. Today's painting requires a large brush. So, a big brush. It can be a hardware brush, what we call a chip brush that we can buy at the hardware store. Good enough for this kind of play. We will need a bit of newspaper or a magazine or some sort of ephemera. Could be music manuscript paper, something that you've written, a shopping list. Doesn't matter. Just something that is something you can collage with. You'll see what I mean. So that's a start, and that's what we're going to be needing today. And I'm going to drop that supply list down in comments so that you can take a look. But don't forget, you can press pause and then come back, press pause again, and resume. So we're going to get started. Here we go with the roulette wheel, and we're going to start off with doodles or dots with a rigger brush. If you don't have a rigger or a liner, pick up a brush that has a small bit of bristles, a small brush, and just make some dots and marks and doodles around the page. You can use any color. You know, as you're starting this process out, it's fine to watch what I do and kind of do what I'm doing. But if you continue on with prompts, I suggest you don't look at what I'm doing before you get started. Just let the roulette wheel determine and do your version. So here I'm enjoying just marking up the page. I have nothing in mind. I'm just playing just like a 5-year-old would do. And this is just to start up the underneath part of a painting. Joan Fullerton calls this the underpants of a painting. In fact, everything we do here is considered the underpants, because eventually we will be painting on top of paint, and some of it will be translucent and show through, and some of it will be opaque and not show through. So the next thing I suggest you do here with the prompt is add 3 areas of complementary mix. So you're going to see me take my big brush. I'm dipping into some white. I dipped into some color, that water, and I have a complementary mix on this brush. Now, what is a complementary mix? It's a mix of sometimes 2 complementary colors, which are colors that are across one another on the color wheel. Well, I'm working with 3 colors, so I'm mixing all 3 of those colors, and in a way I'm mixing these. I'm getting a little bit of each color on this big brush, and I'm mixing them on the paper. I'm working on paper. This is watercolor paper, and I'm mixing them around on the paper. So you see a little bit of blue here, a little bit of red there, and yet this is a lot more neutral than it would be if I were using pure color. Now, I'm noticing things got a little bit on the red side. I'm working with magenta, so I'm adding some black to my palette. The idea here is I want things to be a little bit more neutral color, because probably eventually I'll put pure color, yellow, red, or blue, so I'm knocking back some of the intensity of the color. And my prompt said, do this in at least 3 areas, I believe it said. 3 areas of the paper. So I'm going in and putting some grays down, some mixed grays. So maybe you like to mix your gray on your palette and then put it down. That's fine too. You do what you enjoy doing. The fun thing here is to have some fun doing some things that you like. Now here I am scratching. I'm using a stick and I'm scratching some lines into wet paint. The prompt didn't tell me to do that, but while the paint is wet, it's something that I enjoy doing. So there are no rules here. Okay, so we've done our 3 areas of complementary grays. Now I'm going to pick up and squirt a flashy color onto this painting. I have some pink paint diluted with lots and lots of water in a little spray bottle. If you have a toothbrush or something that you can flick paint, that would work too. I mean, just use a paintbrush if you want. It doesn't matter. We're just trying different things. We're playing with the paint and we're learning as we go. So I used a paper towel and I'm blocking where I'm placing those squirts of bright magenta. And I think you're going to see here in a minute, I'm not going to like those lines very much. So here I'm softening some lines. I'm using some water, and while the paint is still a little bit wet, I'm softening those hard lines. They didn't appeal to me. So I'm doing some finger painting here. Now let's see what comes next. Fog, 1/3 of the painting. Now you may ask, what does that mean? Well, this is a term that Joan Fullerton uses, and I think it's a brilliant term. It means, to me anyway, that you take some white or some light color that is translucent and you wipe it over some of the more bright or strident marks and you tone them down. So I'm using a paper towel and I'm just going to take my white, and some of the paint is wet, so it's mingling into that white a little bit. And some of those marks that I made, you can see a history of them. They're down there, but they aren't nearly as prominent as they were before. So I'm going to continue doing this because the prompt said to do this on 1/3 of the painting. Now it's always tricky to know which part of a painting to kind of tone down or obliterate. And there's no right or wrong answer. I suggest just having at it. You can't do this kind of painting wrong. You can always put more marks in if you want them. You have to be brave. If you aren't courageous in doing some of these things, you won't have nearly as much of a chance to grow as an artist and experience new and different things. So here I am scratching back because I really love the look of scratches in my painting. I have been fogging, as we said. I have put some paint down, translucent white, but I'm kind of scratching back into that a little bit. Now it's time for the next prompt. Big brush, large area. So I'm forgetting to tell you to pause the video, but you can pause it either before I demonstrate a technique or after. I'm using a big brush. I'm going in bold. Big brush. This is similar to a chip brush, a big flat brush, and I want to make some large marks here. This is so much fun to do. This can be done on any kind of paper or canvas. And if I don't like these big dark marks later on, I can put some gesso on there and make them lighter. Eventually, I will develop these paintings, these starts I call them, or underpants as Joan Fullerton calls them. I'll develop these, some of them, into finished paintings. But these demos here are to get you started doing this technique. I will be teaching classes coming up in September 2026 with the Watercolor Art Society Houston. I will drop a link to the class that I'm teaching in September. It will be utilizing this very same technique, only we will take our paintings further along than I'm developing them in one little video here on YouTube. So we will discuss discerning how to edit, but we will be having a lot of fun with these prompts as well. So I will drop a link to that September class down in the comments below. And then I'm doing a 3D collage class, jelly printing and collage 3D in October. So I'll put that link down there as well. You're welcome to join me. Let's see what comes next. Oh, turn 90 degrees. I think you saw me do that a few minutes ago, unprompted. I tend to do this anyway when I'm painting, and it's a good idea. It gives you a completely new perspective when you're working non-representationally like this. What's next? Collage arcs or partial circles with ephemera. So you can use, like I said before, newsprint, magazine, collage paper. Here I'm using a French newspaper, and I ripped out some arches or arcs, partial circles, and I'm using matte medium. I'm putting some matte medium on the back of this newspaper, and I'm going to glue it down onto my pen. I realized I had 2 layers here that I had torn out, so I'm gluing this down on my painting. I have no plan. I have faith that I will be able to continue to have fun with this painting until it feels like eventually it draws to a conclusion with something that I think stands on its own. But while I'm in the process, I don't worry very much about bringing it to a conclusion. I don't worry about design. I don't worry about anything. I just play. So you can't probably see, but there's some white paint snuck into my glue, and that's okay because it made the text of this French newspaper a little bit more obscure, and that's good. That works. So again, I'm going to use another piece and put another arch or arc somewhere else, and I inadvertently picked up a little bit of paint with my glue brush. That's okay. Just having fun. Putting another piece of paper down. Okay, and it has probably advertisements from a local business in Argenton in Normandy, where my husband and I have visited friends there, a friend who has a lovely chateau, and we've taken artist friends there to visit. Hope to go back next year. So I picked up a local paper when I was there. Each time I've been there, I've picked up local newspapers because I feel like they're interesting little bits for the viewer to look at when they look at my non-objective paintings. In fact, that's what's really fun about a non-objective work. A lady picked up a painting today that she had purchased, and it was really fun to visit with her because she was saying how fascinated she is to look at these pieces because there's so much to look at. And I think this suits my ADD, adult deficit disorder that I have, because I'm always being distracted by something else, and so there are a lot of distractions in here. And when this lovely lady picked up her painting, she told me that one of the things she likes about my work is that there's so much to look at. I don't solve all the problems for the viewer. I feel like when I do representational work, I solve more of the problems. Oh, here we go. So, spray or squirt a flashy color. That again. Okay. Well, I'll get my little squirt gun out. Add some more bright color in there. And that certainly does jazz up the painting a little bit. So that was fun. Yep. Okay. And I'm softening some edges. I do fall into finger painting pretty easily. So think about the fact that this painting was a white piece of paper a few minutes ago. Oh good, that said finger paint. Yay! So I dipped into some yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there with my fingers. One of the things that finger painting allows you to do is to soften some edges of paint. If you have wet paint and you have hard edges, you can soften them. I can scratch into wet paint with my fingernail. Yeah, and I love to do that. Some people feel that they should be careful and only use gloves when they are using paint, but I'm hopeful that most anything that would be harmful in the paint is encased in the plastic part of the acrylic paint. We'll hope so, because I love getting in there and playing with my fingers. Don't do as I do, do as I say. Don't finger paint. Probably would be wise to use gloves, but I don't always do what's wise. So, breaking a few rules here. Playing. Now, some of this paint is built up into several layers. You can see some white opaque paint under where I'm painting right now, and that's because I've put thicker paint there. So that's how you build up opacity with white acrylic, is make it thick enough that you can't see through it. Oh, now here's something fun. When you're finger painting, you can put dots. You can put texture with your fingers. I didn't just finger paint for a couple of seconds. I'm really getting into the finger painting here, putting dots. So I suppose my DNA is thoroughly entrenched in this painting. But, marks like this lead the eye around. So all the different marks lead the eye from one part of the painting to another, to another, to another. And the large neutral areas don't lead the eye around so much. They are a resting place for the eye. So that's kind of one way of looking at how to design a non-objective work. As I said earlier, this is not a finished painting, but in this case, this is the second time I've showed you how I work with prompts, and in this case, this is a lot farther along in just a short amount of time than last week's two paintings were. So there you have it. And I'd love to know what you think of this process. I encourage you to go back and use this video a couple of times and practice it. It's great fun, And I will be away for a couple of weeks. I'm going on a trip, and I'll tell you all about it when I get back. Everything's good. It's vacation time. I strategically planned our vacation so that I could get away from the Houston heat during August. So we're heading away, and I will be back in a couple of weeks. I hope you're subscribing to my videos. If you hit the little bell, it will remind you with an email that I have a new video up. Now, I do plan to bring these paintings completely into fruition. So I have actually 4 paintings on the go, painted in this way, and I hope to kind of bring them all together. One of the things that's going to bring them together or hold them together is that I'm using the same palette, the same, in this case, Hansa yellow. Use whatever you want, but I'm using Hansa yellow and magenta and Indian Throne blue, black and white for this particular series, just because I felt like trying those 3. There is no right or wrong. I just wanted 4 paintings using those same colors, but I'm approaching each one with different prompts, and then I will wrap them all up as a series of 4 when I get back from my trip. And I will be interested in hearing from you in the meantime. I would love to know if you have tried this approach. I would love to see you in class. Information below in comments. I would love to have you paint with me in class because interacting is so much fun. So let me know what you think about this painting prompt idea. Take care, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.